everybody, and welcome back to Selling Studio. As you know, my name is Annie. I'm your Christmas selling elf. Yeah, you see my hair, it's quite beautiful. As it's Monday today, it means that today we're going to read some Christmas stories. Yeah, I hope that you liked the previous video and the previous story about... Oh, whoa, wait, what was his name? Let me find... Ebenezer Scrooge, yeah, I remember. Yeah, and about Ebenezer Scrooge. And about the three ghosts of Christmas. I hope that you like this story. And today we're going to read another Christmas story. Unfortunately, this one will be quite shorter because that story about the Christmas that was called The Christmas Carol was like the biggest story from this book, and yeah, and I didn't know that. Yeah, unfortunately. So today we're going to read another story which is called The Elves and the Shoemaker. So let's start reading. Now I sit much more comfortable, and I hope that that girl in light behind me doesn't disturb you. So, our story, I remind you, is called The Elves and the Shoemaker. I think that a lot of you, the most of you, yeah, I'm sorry. I think that most of you know that story, and perhaps you've even read the story in Romanian or in Russian, because it's a quite popular Christmas story. So, there once was a kind, poor shoemaker who owned a shop at the edge of the town. The leather he used to make his shoes was very expensive. After purchasing food and firewood, he could only buy leather for one pair of shoes. So it means that he was quite poor and he didn't sell too much shoes a month. "This will be the finest pair of shoes I have ever made," said the shoemaker. "I will start working first thing tomorrow morning." Okay, he's suffering from procrastination. As he fell asleep that night, the shoemaker dreamed that the shoes he made were the most wonderful shoes that anyone had ever seen. Oh, you know, I love this picture because his house looked like that Christmas gingerbread house. Yes, it's quite cute. When the shoemaker sat down to work the next morning, he saw something amazing. The shoes that he had dreamt about were sitting right before his eyes. "Martha, come quick!" he called. "What a beautiful shoes!" the shoemaker's wife cried. "How did you make them?" "I didn't," said the confused shoemaker. Just then, the shop door opened. A rich passerby needed a new pair of shoes. "Oh, how lucky this shoemaker is!" "I heard that you made the finest shoes in all the land," said the stranger. The shoemaker showed the man the mysterious shoes. "Those are wonderful," said the rich man. The shoes fit him perfectly. The stranger was so pleased with the shoes that he bought them immediately and paid the shoemaker 2 times the price. The shoemaker and his wife danced happily around the shop. "We must celebrate!" the shoemaker laughed the shoemaker's wife. With the money, the shoemaker bought enough leather for 2 more pairs of shoes. After dinner, the shoemaker was very tired. He went to bed, and once again he had a wonderful dream. This time he saw 2 pairs of shoes. Okay, he wants this pair of shoes to be done. I understand. He's a bit lazy, shoemaker. No one in the village had ever seen or owned a pair of such fine shoes. The shoemaker awoke to bright morning sunlight. Once again, the shoes from his dream were sitting on the shoemaker's workbench. When his wife saw the two new pairs of shoes, she squealed with joy. The door to the shop opened and two customers walked in. They took one look at the new pairs of shoes and smiled. "This is exactly what I've been looking for," said the first customer. The second customer was a wealthy woman who fell in love with his shoes. "They're perfect in every way," she said. The customers paid handsomely. There was enough money to purchase leather for 4 more pairs of shoes. You know, I love the fact that the shoemaker buys more leather for his new shoes, for his future shoes, rather than to buy some goods. It means that although I was a bit sarcastic, he's really hardworking and he wants to create new shoes. He loves his work and I really like it. That night, the shoemaker dreamed leather was formed into shoes by tiny hands. When the shoemaker and his wife awoke, they ran to the workbench. They were the shoes exactly as seen in the dream. "How is this happening?" asked the shoemaker's wife. "I don't know," the shoemaker said. "In my dream, I saw tiny hands making the shoes." 4 customers hurried into the shop. The new shoes were gone in a blink of an eye, and the shoemaker and his wife had more money than they had ever dreamed. "Our troubles are over, Marta," said the shoemaker happily. The mysterious shoes kept appearing. The shoemaker and his wife were no longer poor. Actually, I have a question. Why don't they try to find this man or this creature who's creating the shoes? Because it's quite mysterious and it's like, I feel the magic in the air. It was Christmas Eve. Oh, Christmas! We like Christmas, isn't it? It was Christmas Eve, and they wanted to thank whoever was making the shoes. Finally! "Marta, I think it's time we find out who is doing this," said the shoemaker. They hid behind a cabinet that night to see the stranger arrive. At midnight, they were amazed to see 2 tiny elves prance in through the window. The elves were wearing scraps of clothing and old rags of their feet instead of shoes. Oh. But they seemed happy as they began sewing the leather with their tiny hands. "That's why I saw tiny hands in my dreams," whispered the shoemaker. When the shoes were finished, the elves left the way they came. Later, the shoemaker's wife said, "I think it is a shame that those dear little elves don't have any proper shoes or clothing." Oh, now we see that the shoemaker's wife is as kind as her husband. "I think I'll make them some brand new shoes," replied the shoemaker. "And I'll make them each some clothes," said the shoemaker's wife. They worked all evening to make the tiny elves a new set of clothes and shoes. "These clothes will suit our friends nicely," said the shoemaker. The shoemaker and his wife waited behind the cabinet for the elves to arrive. Just then the clock struck midnight. The 2 elves arrived and saw the clothing. "Hooray!" they cried. They dressed in their new clothes and began to dance. The shoemaker and his wife were delighted to see the tiny elves celebrating. After lots of dancing, the elves suddenly disappeared through the window. The shoemaker and his wife never saw the elves again, but they had made enough money to keep the shop going, and they had a wonderful Christmas. And every now and then the shoemaker would dream of those tiny elves making someone else's Christmas dreams come true. That was the end of this video, and that was our last video before the Christmas. As you know, in Europe, in America, USA, I'm sorry, and actually in Moldova too, we celebrate Christmas on the 25th, yeah, sorry, on the 25th of December, yes. And so Merry Christmas, and I wish you, I wish you a Merry Christmas, I wish you a Happy New Year. Don't forget about my advice, from our last video, how to create a perfect Christmas party. Yeah, don't forget to watch them before your Christmas. Have a nice day, and bye bye.